What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to another ranked Joust tier list, God tier list. Today we're doing 11.11. Last time we did 11.10 because 10 comes before 11, and this is the tier list. So basically, if you're new here, we go over the current patch notes, and based on that, which god is good, all the way from SS ban all the way to D being bad. And we compare it from the previous patch, so 11.10. All of these, if you go back to my 11.10 tier list video, this is how they were placed in each given tier. And then we're going to go from top to bottom to see if anything changed. Generally speaking, most things that are bad are going to stay bad. Most things that are good are going to stay good. But through the patch notes, through high-res changing a few things, whether it be gods or items or even the layout of the map, it'll change which gods are better or worse depending on the patch. And usually speaking, or generally speaking as well, most things, only a couple things change. Like a couple gods will go up and down unless there's like a huge buff, like for example Kumba. But small things will eventually become cumulative over, if you look at 11.1, for example, and compare it to 11.11 now, you'll see that a lot of things should have changed. And actually, I'd be curious to go look back. Maybe that's a future video idea, going back to the early part of the season and comparing it to the latest part and seeing what exactly was good at each given moment. But I digress. Let's go ahead and get into 11.11. Again, this tier list right here is 11.10, and we're going to be changing from top to bottom based on the changes from 11.11 patch notes. We still have to get 11.11 bonus balance, hopefully. They usually always do a bonus balance, but I was waiting for it. But around this time is usually when they'll do a bonus balance. Watch it come out next week. But regardless, we're gonna go ahead and get into this. So 11.11 god tier list. Let's get to it. So starting off with Serket. Still one of the top bans in Joust. Nothing really changed. And actually, for SS ban up here, I'm gonna arrange this top by order. So top order being where Serket is the first ban you want to think about, the best god in Joust, all the way down to the last ban in or last god in the SS ban tier is going to be obviously a ban, so super fucking good and better than almost any other god, but going to be lower on the totem pole within this in terms of which god you would want to ban first. I think that's a good way to do SS ban. Everything else will not be in chronological order from left to right, but except this one. So Serket still going to be in here. I still think I haven't been banning Serket first, so I'm going to bring her down here. But she's still SS ban. I'm not gonna. This isn't the final spot she's gonna be in. I'm gonna look at these gods and then we're gonna change them based on that. Fafnir, I'm still fucking banning because this god, every time I fucking play or go up against, it's just too fucking good. Like Fafnir is still gonna be. Honestly, I think he's probably gonna be the first. This is the god that I first ban every single game. I ban Fafnir. Cthulhu. Honestly, he's gotten recent nerfs. I haven't really seen too much of him because everyone bans him. But I'm going to be honest, I don't think he's as crazy as people make him out to be. I still think he's an SS ban, but I don't think... I'd rather ban Fafnir and Serket before I ban fucking Cthulhu. But I still ban him anyways just because it just is what it is. So I'm going to bring him down to right here. And then we'll rearrange him. Cerberus... You may think that there's certain gods that counter him, and there are certain gods that counter him, like constant CC or interruptions when he's using his 2. That's like the obvious one, but even still, he just does too much fucking damage and is so safe. He heals, he counters any healing type of team. He just never takes damage from whenever I play him. I used to last ban him, but I'm gonna be honest. I think he should be up here, like top 2, top 3. And we'll rearrange that in a second here. Kuzenbo. This may be a hot take, and I still ban him sometimes. if there's an open ban left, usually like I'll last pick him if I need to. But I honestly don't think he's that as. He's obviously still going to be an S. I'm bringing him down to S. That's what I'm saying. I don't think he's SS ban anymore. And I almost kind of want to put Cthulhu down here, but I think I'd rather ban Cthulhu over Kuzenbo. But I think Kuzenbo's like top S. I don't think he's an SS ban anymore. And then that is your SS bans. I'm going to change this. So based on these 5, I'm probably going to put Serket. I'll probably put Serket 3rd. I think you should ban Fafnir first, then Cerberus, then Serket. And then after this, I forgot to go over Jing Chen. Jing Chen's still fucking gross. He still does so much damage. One of the safest guardians you can go, and fits well with any team. It's constant CC, beads burning capability. I will say though, I think he's at the end. I think you last ban Jing Chen. After that, I think you would, after Serket, I think you ban Cthulhu, then Jing Chen. So Fafnir, Serket, Cthulhu, Jing Chen is how I'd probably put this. And then if you have a last pick here you want, I would probably just ban Kuzenbo. I like to ban Ares though a lot of the time. So it's really up to you. But these are going to be your still constant OP picks that you're going to ban. Most of these gods up here aren't going to really change unless they fucking heavily nerf something or buff something, which I don't think is going to be the case for a lot of these gods, because I don't think a lot of these gods are busted in Conquest, which is what they really care about. But they care less about it because they're on Smite 2, so like this probably never gonna really change. But you know, if I'm wrong, so be it. But I don't think so. But there's that. Kuzenbo went down 1. I changed the order in which this was in before. I don't remember what it was before. I think Serket was top in. I still think Fafnir is your number 1 pick, and then after that, Serb. All right, Kumba. We did those. We're going into Kumba. So Kumba got nerfed. He is still very annoying to go into. So I'm gonna keep him I'm gonna keep him in S. I still think if you want to ban, your last ban here could be either Kumba or Kuzenbo. Yeah, the nerfs were pretty significant on him, but compared to what he was before, the buffs are just so exponential. He's never going to really fall out of S or A plus in my opinion, unless they got him. So I'm going to keep him in S. Cryptus is still your safest, best, highest DPS hunter right now, so she's going to stay in S as well. Ares is going to stay in S as well. Ares counters like every single fucking god up here. You know, he has an iffy like back and forth with Jing Chen, but he counters fucking Serket. He counters fucking I won't say counter, but he has great matchups with a lot of these gods up here, and I think he's like an anti-meta type of god. He's always going to be here, and honestly, if I were to put this in order, I'm not going to. I'd probably put him top 3 because I almost always ban fucking Ares because I just fucking hate. And if you're gonna go with any of these gods, I'd probably ban Ares specifically for that too. Amaterasu still staying up here. I think she is like top 3 warrior. I think she, in my opinion, I think she is the best warrior right now. It's just whether or not you can play her well. So she's gonna stay in S. I don't think she's quite a ban yet, but yeah. Atlas. I think he's still S. Like if you're gonna ban all of these gods up here, I think Atlas is one of your go-to choices if you're good with Atlas, because he's never really going to get banned much compared to these gods, and I still think he does everything really well. He's basically, I mean, he's not the safest god in the world, but his 3 allows him to get away. I mean, it can be blocked, for example, like Medusa 3-per. That, you know, another example of that, whatever. So he can be caught out, unlike, you know, a dash that goes over them or something, like a Fafnir, for example. But I still think he does crazy amounts of damage. He can carry games really well. He acts as a traditional guardian as well with the amount of CC he has. So he's kind of like a jack of all trades. Nothing like specifically great that he's at. He's just good at like everything, in my opinion. So I think he's still S, and I think he's one of your almost like, if you're going to play him a lot, he's going to almost always be open. Hou Yi, I think, is your top 3 hunters, if I'm thinking correctly. You got Charybdis. I think Hou Yi is probably one of your best hunters as well. He's one of the hunters that I go to ban if I'm trying to ban hunters. I'll obviously ban like Charybdis, and then depending on the team, I'll ban Hoi because Hoi is so good into every single team comp. The bounces that you can do can win you games. I think he's still in S. Medusa used to be gross, and I still think she's very good. Just I don't think she's quite S. I think she's top A+. She does a lot of damage. She's been nerfed over a long period of time, over and over and over again, and I just don't feel the same way about her as I did before. I was kind of iffy the last time on 11.10 tier list to put her at S, but I kept her there just to feel her out more, and really, I haven't been seeing her as much, and when I do see her, yeah, she does a lot of damage. Yes, she can turn fights. That's why she's still A+, but I don't think she has quite the presence as gods like Charybdis, Hoi, and some of the other gods that we'll talk about, or hunters that we'll talk about later. So I'm going to put her in A+. Baron is one of my most hated gods, personally, because I hate his slow. I hate everything about him. He can get caught out, but if you build correctly on Baron and not go full damage, and you put him into a very good team comp, this man is absolutely gross. And you can play him as full damage. It's not how I'd personally play him. I'd probably play him either tank or hybrid, because he does damage, and he's basically a fucking pseudo guardian in my opinion. His 3 that is like a 5-second stun because it slowly turns them into a stun, or a root. It's a root. Still so fucking annoying. And then his ult, CC immune. The only thing bad about him, which isn't really necessarily bad if you build him correctly, is that he can get caught out really easily. And if your positioning is great, then you like never fucking lose. I've gone up against Barons that carry games, and they're not even like the highest MMR type people, and it's just so fucking annoying. And I still think he's an S. I don't care what anyone says, he's still S in my opinion. Shiva is going to be in S still. He actually got a buff, so if I were to put him up here, I'd probably put him up higher. And occasionally I'll ban Shiva, not as your first 6 bans, but you know, towards the end, if they have an open slot for a warrior, I'm like, all right, well, I'm banning Shiva and Amaterasu, for example, because I mean, he got a buff in his 3. I believe he got a buff in his ult, which makes him even better. Like, I think his 3 is up a lot more, and it's obviously really good. So I still think Shiva is an S. Marticarus, I don't care what anyone says, man. I think someone, I don't remember who it was. It was a respectful comment, but they didn't put Marty in S, and they were like A+, and I was like, I don't know if it's my Marty. I'm not like the best player in the world, especially on Marty, but Marty is my go-to. I think one of my best gods this season has to be Marty. This god is fucking gross. I don't give a fuck what you say. His ability to get out of fights, his ability to clear away from afar, do damage from afar, his ability to throw out damage, you know, through your guardians or tank setup is absolutely gross. They use their let's say Bacchus, for example, Bacchus leap or Bacchus burp. I use my 2 in like late game. I just kill them for free. It's absolutely gross. And his safety with his 3, giving him movement speed and invisibility, just makes it so much more annoying for the opposite team. I can tell you from personal experience going up against other Martys, the fact that you have to be careful around bushes, you don't even know if they're there, is just like a psychological fuck with your brain type thing. And then he's even more safe with his ult. He just ults away. So anytime you have like a counter towards Marticarus, you just ult away. And seeing as you're building full CDR anyways, you're going to have your ult up the next fight anyway. So he's like the safest, easiest god to play. I don't think he's quite top 5, but I think top 5 hunter. I think personally for me, he is absolutely S tier. And if that's the case that he's not, maybe I just have a great Marty. I don't know. I think this season, I've been playing on multiple accounts, so I play on different accounts with Marty. On my main account, I think I'm 14-2 with him. And it's one of those things where I'm like, all right, if I want to try hard, I'm going to pick Marty. And for the most part, we win every single game. One thing I will say is bad about him is that if you blink him, it's kind of hard to... That's one of the biggest counters. If you blink Shiva, for example, you have a Shiva and you blink on Marty, then it's kind of annoying as fuck. So that's one of the biggest things about him is you just gotta blink him. use some abilities and, you know, bait out his ult, beads, or whatever. I digress. Still think he's S, top 5 in my opinion. Moving on to Bacchus. Bacchus is always going to be S in my opinion, unless they gut him, like I say, every single time, which they never do. Bacchus is just going to be your standalone, always good in basically any type of team comp outside of, like, I don't know, a couple counters that he may have. He's always just going to be good S because no one's going to really ban him all that much. Very similar to Bacchus. Hunbats is another god. I'm going to put him in A+. I've been putting him in S just because I think personal reasons, but he doesn't get played enough to warrant S in my opinion. But when you do play him and when you do see him, he absolutely, you know, he has great team synergy with almost any type of god or team comp. He has one of the best ults in the game. Beads burning capabilities, Aegis ult capabilities, you blink ult, if you have full cooldown and build Relic Dagger. He absolutely runs the map, and his ability to be safe the entire time is invaluable. And so I think he's S personally, but because nobody really plays him too much or plays him at that level, I think he's A+. I will say Hunbats is one of my go-to, like, if I'm playing solo queue and I want to win the game, I'm going to pick Hunbats, depending on the team comp, of course, because I absolutely can carry games with Hunbats with my specific build, you know, going Relic Dagger hybrid with, you know, cooldown and damage. Really fucking good. I'm going to put him top of A+. Chiron is another version of Marty. I think he fits into team comps a little bit better just because of his ult. He can be further away and do damage. It's not similar to Marticarus. He can do damage from afar, but not like Chiron can. So late game, if they set up correctly, your team, and you ult, you hit all 3 of them, use your 2 and everything, they just die. And I still think Chiron's S. Chalk is going to be another guy that's still staying in S. I think he's top 3 warriors right now. Not a lot of people play him, but he's really good, obviously, into auto attack hunters. Being able to build Midgard, use your 3, or, you know, even build Frostbound if you want to get close to him, makes it to where you auto for nothing, and he does enough damage to fuck you over as a hunter. So Chalk S in my opinion. X-Ball is still going to stay S. He got a recent nerf. I think it was 11.10. I don't think it was 11.11. But nothing's really changed with him. He's still, like, up there. Top hunter. I don't think he's top 3. But he's definitely probably top 5. I mean, there's so many good hunters right now. It really depends on its auto attack base versus ability base like Marty and Chiron. But he is definitely your top hunter. Odin I'm going to bring down to A+. I was a little overzealous on the Odin buff he had a little while ago, but he does counter. He's one of my gods that I like to pick if you want to counter any type of god without a leap out ability. It forces them to go shell, or if they don't go shell, then they just cook themselves. But, you know, he can counter Medusa, he can counter, I mean, technically you can counter Ares, any god that doesn't have an ability to go out of the ult. He counters a lot of healing gods because his ult does, you know, 100% anti-heal. But I just don't think you don't see him a lot, which I think is a factor in the grand scheme of things. He's still going to be able to do shit, you know, and be really good regardless of people picking him or not. But I do think that there are better warriors, and the fact he doesn't get picked a lot kind of shows that there are other things better, but he's still very good. But I'm going to put him down at A+. Jormungandr staying here. His ability to do damage, and now that Tablet stacks 70 times, late game, you just win the game as Jorm. His damage is absolutely nuts. And the fact that he can counter so many gods, like, I don't know, Serb ult, Jing Chen root, I mean, he's still, or knock up within his 2. He still gets rooted and stunned and everything. But, like, Kumba can't ult him, Kuzenbo can't 3 him and ult him. He literally can't do anything. So his ability to counter a lot of these top meta gods is kind of like an anti-meta, very similar to Ares, where he counters a lot of the meta. So I think he's still going to be S. Scylla's still going to be S. Safest, top damaging mage in the game. Absolutely annoying. Scylla, you know, falls in and out of meta depending on what the team comps are. And I think she's probably still top 3 mage. So that's your S for right there. Not a lot of changes, I'm going to be honest. Only change was Hunbats, Odin, and Medusa. Moving on to A+, I think Sobek's S. I don't know if you've seen my recent video about Sobek, but he absolutely carries. I did top damage as a basically full tank. I think I built Curse Weaver at the end, but the amount of damage you can do if you pluck correctly, I think with all the buffs that he's gotten, if you pluck correctly, then he's a menace to the game. You don't want to pluck just because you can, just because a god is, let's say, a free pluck doesn't mean you want to. Especially if it's like you're in a position where if you miss the pluck, then you're kind of cooked. You have to either ult out or you just die. That's definitely not a good pluck in my opinion. Outside of like a couple of niche scenarios, like if you're with a team or something and like you have an idea or you have like a play you're ready to make. But generally speaking, you want to make sure you use your pluck correctly. And I think that's what makes a better Sobek go from A+ to like S in my opinion. He can absolutely carry games. The amount of damage he does with his ult, the recent buffs to his ult giving him 40% slow absolutely is apparent. I'll tell you that. My god. So I think he's back up to S in my opinion. Gotta play him correctly though. Don't just pluck anything. Geb, I'm gonna bring him up to S as well. He's usually teetering between S and A+ in my opinion from like these past patches. He's one of the gods that I'll ban a lot of the times if I see that they're running a specific comp. Like if they're going like a heavy burst type of team comp late game where like a Geb shield would like win them the game, for example. Like I'm gonna ban Geb because not only does he have great setup, blink ulting and winning the game, for example, because it's one of the best setup in the game. The amount of fucking damage he does is absolutely wild. His 2 ult, I mean, his 2 does so much damage. He's super safe with his 1. And recently I've been banning Geb way more often, so I think he's back at S. He's gonna probably teeter between the two, but I'd say he's low S, and I can obviously argue top A+, but Geb is one of your good go-to picks in my opinion. Ganesh is gonna stay A+. There's certain team comps that he's like absolutely like abhorrent in. Like if you're going up against an Ama, insert AA Hunter, and like a Bracken or something, Ganesh is gonna do nothing. I played a game with this guy. He's a streamer. He picked Ganesh into an Ama and a I don't remember what hunter they picked, but it was auto attack hunter. I think it was on her. I don't remember. And then he went Bracken. Like, yeah, Ganesh is gonna absolutely do nothing that fucking game because I mean you're not gonna stop auto attacks. You can't silence auto attacks. And then Bracken can still use his 1. Like after, like you have to use your 1 before he ohms you, but like after it. So you ohm him. If he's used his 1 and you ohm him, he's just gonna stun you. Like so Ganesh can be a really terrible fucking pick into a team comp, but it can be really fucking good depending on the team comp that you're going up against. A lot of team comps that use like a lot of abilities. Like I think of like Neja Scylla, for example. If Neja ults and while Neja's in the air, you see Scylla like throwing up, ready to throw up their abilities. Before she ults, for example, you could use your 2 to ohm her out of her before she can ult, for example. That would be a good example of that. I mean, depending on the play, everything, you have to line it up correctly. But the idea applies that you can really, counter a lot of abilities with his ohm. So I'd still say he's A+, especially after the buffs. Yu Huang's gonna stay in A+. I think he's one of the safest mages. He's a little bit harder to play, a little bit more clunky. I still think he's less clunky than he was before, but I still think he's like your top honorable mention type mage. I'm gonna keep him in A+. Disco, my god, I've been seeing her way more. I think she's S. I think she's like right behind Scylla. She fits into most team comps. The buffs that she's gotten are really fucking good, with her ult being on cooldown, or her ult always being up because of her 3 buff. Her 3 allowing to reduce the cooldowns for her ult. She's got a longer leap with her 3, and obviously her 2-1 combo is absolutely nasty if you can hit one person with it. So really gross, super safe, always has an ult up type of god, which means that you're CC immune on her ult, which means you don't have to burn your beads all the time. So I think she's up there as one of your top mages right now. Vulcan, as much as it kills me to say this, is still going to be an A+. I want him to be better, but nothing's really changed with him, and I think that there are better mages than Vulcan right now anyways. But certain team comps and certain gods you can really fucking counter while playing Vulcan. So still gonna be A+, very solid god. On her, I was a little mean to him, I guess. Personally, I think he's A plus S, but he's a lot harder to play, and maybe that's just my own bias because I suck with on her. But I think Hoi Yi is just a better on her, generally speaking. If you can play a good on her, I think on her is one of the best hunters in the game. But it's so much harder to play on her than compared to Hoi Yi or Charybdis or Shablanke, for example. But I'm gonna put him in S because I've been seeing way more, and I hate playing him or playing up against him, and I love having an on her on my team. So I'll put on her at S. Yeah, I think he's your top 3 hunters right now. Osiris, I'll put in A. I'll keep here because I kind of want, if I were to put him somewhere, I'd probably put him like low A plus, but I still think he's a fine god. I think he's a solid god. That's what I'll say. A little bit better than like A, so I put him in A plus. But there are so many other AA warriors that are better in my opinion, like Ama, Erlong Shen. Like I don't know why you would play Osiris outside of like maybe certain counters that they would have with Osiris, but I still think Osiris is a really good god, so I'll keep him like low A plus. I'll keep him there. Gilgamesh, I'm gonna keep here as well, A plus. Like I think I'd rather go Gilgamesh than Osiris in my opinion, just because he has more versatility, and can go other types of builds, for example. So I'll leave him at A plus. Terra is still going to be at A plus. I think she's I still think she's an underrated god. If you could play a really good Terra, I think she's like top S, for example. But she is a lot harder to play. Not a lot of people playing her. Almost at him. Terra though can really counter a lot of gods who have knockups. For example, like Geb or Jing Chen or Sobek. You can really take advantage of that as her passive when you have any of your abilities up, whether that's your 2, your 3. She is knockup immune, so you can actually play her into counter matchups like that. I'm gonna keep her A plus. Achilles is gonna stay A plus. He's still a very good god, just it's fallen from grace, I'll say that. He's just not as great and gets shut down by the top gods up here. I used to put him in S because he was still very good, but even S is a little too much of a stretch for him in my opinion. Uller, I don't know, man. I think Uller used to be one of those like insane gods that like if you were like really fucking good with Uller, like you could carry games. Sorry, I was looking at my phone. You can carry games with Uller, but not, I mean you still can, but I just feel like a lot of the other gods are just better versions of Uller. I'm not entirely sure what happened. He didn't get a lot of nerfs. He actually got buffs and he's gone down. Maybe just people don't play him as much. I'm gonna put him in A plus due to the fact that no one really plays him a lot. But like again, I'll keep saying it. If you're like one of the best Ullers in the game, like you can absolutely carry games and then bring him up. I'd probably bring him up to SSS, for example. I don't know. It's kind of contradictory to what I just said, but like I don't know. You can carry games, but if you don't, then he's kind of just like a okay solid god. Wait till late game, so maybe if you get like a good axe, you win the game. I don't know. I put him in A plus. Tiamat, I'm gonna put her like top A plus, almost S, because late game, when she gets late game, she absolutely just wins the game for you. Like the amount of damage you do with tablet is absolutely wild. Like late game Tiamat, I'd put her like S. Like she's the best fucking mage in the game, but you have to get there, and it does take a little bit. And between that time and what you're trying to stack tablet, you can get farmed. So I'd put her top A plus, maybe S, if we were gonna argue. Rajan, man, I don't know. I think Rajan, like I want to put him in S so badly, but like I don't know. I'll put him in S. I'll put Rajan in S. I think Rajan still can do, like I don't know if he's like top 3 mages, but like he absolutely does so much damage. Has a surprising amount of CC with his ult. I've gotten kills and gotten killed by the CC in Rajan's ult. It's surprisingly impactful, I've got to say. I think I'm gonna be posting a Rajan game soon. I've had a couple of those in that video where like I use either the fear or the taunt, and it does really help with the team. And so I put Rajan in S. He's super safe, does a lot of damage, and one of your top mages in my opinion. Not top 3, but Ishtar's still going to be A+. Nobody fucking plays this god, but the amount of buffs that she's gotten is absolutely insane. I think she's got buffed to her kits like 8 separate patches. So I'm going to keep her in A+. Not a lot of people play her. Neja, I'm going to keep in A+, very similar to Achilles' Spawn from Grace, but outside of that, there's like a couple of teams that you can absolutely fuck with Neja, and that would be like Neja Scylla, Neja Vulcan, Neja Ra, any of those type of gods. Specifically, Neja Scylla is the best combo, in my opinion. But, you know, outside of that, she's just like a solid type of god that you probably almost always get nowadays, but not the carrying type of god that it used to be. He used to be. Mulan, I'm going to keep an A+. She's gotten a lot of nerfs in the back in the day, but I'd probably still keep her here. I think she's an underrated pick, in my opinion. No one really plays her much, but I still think she does a lot of damage. She just doesn't get online as quickly as she used to be, or do as much damage as she used to be, which is good. So I think A+ is a really good fit for her. Persephone, I played Persephone in one of my recent videos. I'm so hit or miss with Persephone, but when you do play her really well, and if you can play her really well every single game, she's top 3 mage in my opinion. Her flowers are obviously ever annoying. Like, it's never been a case where it hasn't been annoying. Does so much damage. Her being safe, CC immune ult, her ult can win you games, obviously. She's all around just a very good top mage. I think I underrated her a little bit last patch's tier list, so I'm gonna put her at S. I think she's one of your top mages still. Kukulkan, I have a recent game with him as well. I'm going to be posting sometime soon, but I think Kukulkan is obviously still A+. I have hair in my mouth. Ew. Kukulkan, I still think is one of your top warriors, outside of, you know, your top 3 warriors. I think he's a very underrated, not a lot of people pick him, type of god, and I think that he fits almost every single team comp really well, unless he's doing unless you're like a solo fucking warrior. That's one I don't think he's really good at, but still solid pick. Double tank, I think he's absolutely really good, especially if your other tank has like more CC based. He does the damage, and then you have like a backliner that can do even more. Play him correctly, he's like unstoppable. I'm gonna keep it an A+. Gabrakan, I'm bringing up to S. Not only have I been seeing this fucking god so much more, he gotten recent buffs, which makes him so much better. I think like just in his base kit, he gets more damage and more health, I think. Something like that. And I think he's just really just rised from 1 tier to S, from A+ to S. He still has his counters. Like if you ever do see a Gabrakan, he doesn't have CC immunity. So if you need to go Jing, or if you need to go like a god that can counter him, you can go like Jing Chen, Ares, or whatever type of god. It forces him to buy beads, and you can take advantage of that. So, but I still think Cabs is still S. He's been so much better recently. I've been seeing him so much more, and he's been a lot more difficult to lock down, I've got to say. ESET, I'm going to keep an A+. I still think ESET, if you play her correctly, is like S. Like her very similar to Baron. You can go hybrid tank, and even full damage, and she fucks. Her ability to silence is one of the biggest things about her kit. You silence and use her abilities, and you get a shield as well. You have to play her correctly, and you have to play her well in order to make her work, but that's why I think I'm going to leave her A+, because not a lot of people do, and not a lot of people play her. But if you do play her well, instant S in my opinion. Sylvanas, I'm going to keep an A. I was correct that, like, I've been seeing him a lot more, and I think he's an A+. He's a very good god, and I was underrating him a lot until he's, gotten into the meta. I don't think there are a lot of Guardians that are really, really bad. I think there's like maybe 3 or 4 that are actually really bad. And Sylvanas has been surprising me recently, so I'm going to keep him at A+. Herc's going to keep it A+ as well. Not as potent as he used to be, in my opinion, but still very, very good. And works well almost into any type of team comp. You always have to play very carefully around Herc, especially if you're a backliner. And he does so much damage as well with his ult, so I'm gonna keep him in A+. Morgan Le Fay, I mean, I'm just gonna, I don't know what to do here. I guess, do I just add a row below and say, I don't know, N/A, and then just put her here? The fuck did she go? There she is. She's bugged. Apparently her passive allows it to where there's a ward on somebody the entire map, which in ranked play is no bueno. so they banned her in ranked play. You can still play her, but I think with the bug, she's not playable, and I don't think they're ever going to fix it, which is unfortunate because I like playing Morgan Le Fay, and I think she'd actually be pretty solid in this meta. I probably put her still in A+ based on what the meta is like, but we'll never know because she's fucking banned. Whatever. Moving on, we're going to E-Shell. I think E-Shell is still A+. She's definitely fallen from grace in terms of being a top mage. Her ability to go semi-hybrid with like a Breastplate of Valor or like a Genji's Guard, still there. Does a lot of damage, has CC, and has a lot of ability to change the game with her ult. But there are a lot of other better mages right now. Hachi is another god that I think a lot of the other hunters are just better than. He's a very safe god, and if you play him, you will feel very good. Like, it's not like a bad god to play. But a lot of the other hunters are just going to do what he does a lot better, like X-Ball, for example. But still a very good hunter. AMC, I'm bringing down to A. I mean, there's no point in playing AMC when you have Marty and Chiron, like I always say. It's just been ever more apparent that he's not as good ever. Thor, I'm going to bring down to A as well. I think he's a very good assassin that a lot of people don't think about playing anymore. But, you know, obviously, again, there's still better gods that fill his role more consistently and easier than he does. Still a very good god, though, and can catch people off when you pick him, because not a lot of people play him, and I think that's another contributing factor to why I'm going to bring him down one. But still a very good underrated assassin, in my opinion. Nike, not as great. I'm going to bring her down to A. She's still solid, but Sunder and everything still fuck her over. She got in a buff, and I think I put her up one because of that. But nah, she's not really great, especially double tank. You just Sunder her and she dies. She can be very good, but generally speaking, just a middle of the road, like okay god. New Wall, I'm bringing down to A. I think I did overhype her a little bit. Maybe that was just because the recent biases that I had with her when people play recently, or when I played, or when I did that tier list, and I was playing with New Wall on my team. I don't think she's as great as I thought she was. Still like an okay god, just because she can be good if you play her correctly, but not a lot of people do, and she's got that stigma, I think, with a lot of other gods. Certain gods, like if you pick this god, you're like, oh, all right, well, we're about to see if this guy's totally troll or if he actually goes off. I think that's what New Wall kind of symbolizes, in my opinion. Let me bring it down to A. Rama, I'm going to bring down to A as well. I still think he's a very good god, and I can argue A and A+ all day. If you play a good Rama, I think he's A+. If you play like a okay Rama, then he's going to be like in your okay tier. His ability to dash away and ult make him a super safe hunter. He's like one of the safest hunters in the game outside of like Cryptus. And I think that's really what makes him good, because you can 3, for example, 3 away, ult, and you can be in your ult for like 4 or 5 seconds, giving you enough time for your team to come and help you. And then, you know, your 3 will be back up very soon, and you can just 3 away. And I've played up against plenty of Ramas, really good Ramas, and it is pretty hard to get to him, surprisingly enough. So I'll leave him in at top of A, but I can argue A+. Lancelot, I'm bringing down to A. I still think Lancelot's a very good like pseudo warrior. Haven't seen him a lot, but I think that's one of the reasons why. I think there are just better warriors that play his type of style better. But if you play a good Lancelot and it fits your team well, he's super fucking hard to play. I don't know what the fuck I just did. I think I put Medusa in A, which is not what I meant to do. Okay. Artemis, I'm gonna bring her in A too. I think very similarly, she can get caught out. She has very great counter potential with her ult and everything. You can kind of go tanky with her. And I can argue A+, very similar to Rama. I think she fits the similar shoes to like Rama. I think she's a little underrated, very similar to Rama, but there are a lot better other hunters. I'm gonna put her in A. Baba is gonna stay in A+. Nothing really changes with her. She's still a very solid mage. Not as great as I used to think she was, but still very, very good with her damage and safety with her 3 in her ult. Ardio, I'm gonna bring her in A. I don't think Ardio's all that great. I think recently with her recent buffs, I thought she was gonna be better than she was. Anytime I go up against Ardio, I am so surprised at how little impact she has, even with her counters, with her 2 and everything. She's just so mid in my opinion, especially when there are so many other Guardians you'd rather go. So I'm gonna put her in A. Set, I'm bringing down to A as well. I don't think, again, a lot of these guys I can argue A plus. I think Set's another one of them that you can go hybrid or full damage and you can carry games, especially if you are a really good Set. So, you know, I'd bump them up depending on who's playing or piloting the Set. But generally speaking, I don't think Set does great in a double tank. Obviously you're gonna be backlining, but even still, I don't think, you know, he's not very, like, he doesn't provide that oomph in a team, in my opinion. So I'm gonna bring him in like A. Cupid, I'm keeping an A plus. I think Cupid is actually an underrated god, and I've been seeing Cupid a lot more, and Cupid does really good, in my opinion, especially up against certain teams. With his one and his ult, his cripple, and his pretty safe dash as well, can fit really many team comps pretty well. So I'll bring him or keep him in at A plus. Camazotz, I'm going to keep an A plus ever since his buffs and everything. He can kill tanks surprisingly well with his autos, I've noticed, especially with the slow in his 2. He's got lifesteal. One of the biggest things is his counter to his lifesteal, so he can build anti-heal like a Cerberus, for example, and good luck killing that fucking Cerberus. You're just going to be healing him every time you heal, and as Camazotz, you're always fucking healing. So there are counters to him, but generally speaking, I think he's a very good god into almost every team comp. Agni, I'm going to keep an A plus as well. I think he's obviously very fucking good and counters a lot of other gods from afar with his ult and everything. A lot of other mages specifically too. He can actually counter a lot of mages. So if you go a mage, for example, you can counter him from afar with Agni. So I'm thinking like Persephone, Discordia, you know, Scylla, for example. You can counter them pretty well with your bombs. So I'd probably play him then. But generally speaking, I think he's a very solid, good mage that you can almost always go into any team comp outside of like a couple like Kabrakan, for example. But I think he's A plus. Now Charon, I'm gonna keep an A plus as well. I don't think anything changed with him. He still does a lot of damage. He can build tablet, very good, but definitely in better Guardians. But I'm gonna keep an A plus. Aphrodite, similarly, I think has gotten a better win rate. Nobody fucking plays this god, but the people who do play her, it's like really well. I mean, it's no diff. Those people who play Aphrodite at that high level make you want to ban Aphrodite every game. Thank God no one plays this god, which is why I think she's an A plus. But if people did play Aphrodite and they got really good with Aphrodite, and you saw her on the battleground more frequently, I'd probably put her in S, because you play her and build her correctly, she's fucking disgusting. But I'm gonna keep her A plus. Osiris, we did that. MC, Nike, Sun Wukong, I'm gonna keep an A as well. Not really been seeing him. I think that's a contributing factor. Very solid, safe god. And I can argue A plus. He's kind of underrated a little bit, but again, I think they're just better warriors, especially with all the buffs and everything atop. That I'm gonna keep him in A. Athena, not really good outside of your double damage backline. I don't think Athena's all that great. Doesn't do damage, especially in a double tank. You kind of only have to play her into a specific team comp that has a lot of bursts, so you can dash in, use your 2, and your backline can follow up. Outside of that, not very great, so I'm going to put her in average A, especially for this meta. Ravana has gotten a big-ass buff, and I'm bringing him to A+. I think Ravana, I need to play him and make a game. Honestly, I think that, like, depending on who you're talking to and who's playing him, he can very well be S, but at the very least, I think it's A+, top A+. Not a lot of people play him. He's gotten 3 big buffs, I believe a cleave, power in his passive whenever he uses abilities and everything. And I can't remember the other one. I think he got a reduced ult? I don't remember. He got 3 big buffs though. I've been seeing him more with the people that I play with, and they play them pretty well. And so every time I see Ravana play, I'm like, oh wow, okay, Ravana does a lot of things now. He did before, but even more now. And this man gets fucking power just in his passive, which is fucking insane. He plays like a warrior and gets power. It's crazy. Anyways, A+, I think he's definitely top A+ with that buff. I think it brings him up a whole tier. Where were we? Don Zabora, I'm gonna keep an A. I still don't think no one really plays him a lot. And again, it doesn't necessarily dictate how good they are, but it does symbolize that there are, I feel like, better picks right now. And I think Donza is gonna stay in A. Now he's gonna stay in A2. Don't think he's necessarily bad or great. I think he's just middle of the road. Can do things, but his damage output just isn't that great compared to other gods. And he's super clunky with his 3, for example. Super easy to... You just miss the 1. If you miss the 1, which is super easy to miss or dodge, for example, depending on the perspective that you're in, he just doesn't do much. Horus, I'm going to keep in A2. He does damage, but, like, I don't know. He just hasn't been feeling great recently. I've been playing up against it. I played with a couple Horuses, and Horus just doesn't do much. I'm gonna be honest. He just gets cooked. But I think he's not the worst guy, so I'm gonna bring him like middle of the road. Thoth, another guy that's just middle of the road. If you play a good Thoth, then I think he probably goes up to like A+, but other than that, nothing great. Erlong, I think jumps to low S, A+, depending on who you're talking to. This god, oh my god. He got recent buffs too. I can't remember what they were. I think he got a reduce cooldown. I think he got more damage in his 3. And I think that just pushed him up. I think honestly, before this, I think I maybe underrated him, putting him in A. I think I should have put him in A+. But I can still see an argument for Erlong being an A+. So you can make the argument, but I think he's S. The amount of times I see him, the amount of times I play him, and I feel so fucking good playing Erlong. Especially late game, he's absolutely cracked. Don't think he's as good as Amma, but I think he's like your second best auto attack warrior currently. Bologna, I'm gonna keep an A. Like, she can be very good late game, but why pick Bologna if Amma or Erlong is up? Is kind of my opinion. Bastet's gonna be an A. She's like solid sometimes, getting the back line. She could be annoying, but she kind of just gets shut down, so I'm gonna keep her an A. Zhang Kuei, honestly, no, I'm bringing him down to B. I just don't think he should be in A. I think he actually falls below middle of the road. I think he just gets too caught out. I think the only really way that you can kind of counter against that is building hybrid a little bit, but still, even like he just gets too caught out in my opinion. Cuckoo, middle of the road type god. I don't see him a lot. I still think he's a very underrated mage. I know he plays a lot. He's very safe and can do a lot of things with him. But again, other better gods too. Merlin, I'm going to keep in the same category. I'm going to put him up 1. I argue A and A+, but with Tablet being better, I think he's like low A+. I can argue A still. And again, remember Tiamat, I can still argue like top of S. Man, I don't know. Do I really want to put Merlin and Tiamat in the same category when Tiamat is obviously better than Merlin? You know, never mind. I'm gonna, again, you can see arguments between each tier because they're so like on the cusp of each. I just can't put Merlin in the same category as Tiamat if I don't put Tiamat in S, for example. I'm gonna keep him in A. No one really plays him much anyways, so that's probably a good contributing factor. Many people play Tiamat more than Merlin. But again, late game Merlin absolutely fucking destroys. So it really depends on what timing of the game dictates where he's at in the tier, in my opinion. And again, you can argue between each tiers. So there's that. I'm gonna keep him an A. Neith, I'm gonna keep an A too. You build her correctly with like full damage, she can be very good, but very predictable. It can counter her really well. Doesn't do anything spectacularly well besides her ult, and even then you can very easily just walk in front of it. So I'm gonna keep her at A. Guan Yu, I'm gonna keep at... I've been seeing a lot of Guan Yus recently, but like he doesn't bring anything crazy to the table. You can stun him out of his 3. Other than him being like super safe and running away with his ult and his 2, you have to be a really good Guan Yu if you want to put him higher. So I'm gonna keep him at A. Kernos, middle of the road hunter, nothing crazy. Other hunters are better than him. Nut, I'm actually gonna bring down 1. I don't think she's great at all. Any type of hunter that's AA and you get to late game can be very impactful, but I just don't see why she would be picked over any other god. Arachne, I'm gonna keep here. No, I'm gonna bring her down. I can't put her in the same category as Bakasura, I don't feel like. Even though they're built and played you know, very similarly. I think Baka's a little bit better than Arachne. She still can do things, but you know, she got nerfed in her 3 with her spiders, even though her spiders still do a lot of fucking damage. Don't get me wrong. I think Bakasura is probably a little bit better, so I'm gonna keep him in A as well for Bakasura. He can just do more things in team comp. He's not as safe as Arachne with Arachne's ult, but I think he has more impact with his ult if you play him correctly, being as like an ult bot. Tier I'm bringing down to B. I just can't put him in middle of the road. He's just not great outside of like a couple team comps or people who play him really well. I just don't see Tier ever being really good. Same thing with King Arthur. Got to be a good King Arthur to make him work in Joust. He doesn't get played a lot, and yeah, I'm bringing him down to B. Hera, I'm going to keep in middle of the road. I still think she is a solid middle. No, I wouldn't say she's solid. She's okay. She's fine into certain team comps. I don't like seeing her. I don't think she's like the greatest thing in the world, but she can do things depending on the team comp. Kali, I'm going to bring down to B too. I think I can always flip-flop between A and B, but like whenever I see Kali, right, I'm super interested in how their playstyle is because they're either really fucking good or they just don't know how to play her. If you buy a Blink, you blink 3 to someone, you can do so much fucking damage. You got to play her correctly to make her well, which is why I'm going to bring her down to B. There are certain people who play Kali really well that make you feel like she's really good, but she just isn't unless you're playing at that level really well with her. Late game, however, is a whole different fucking game. But still, I think Kali is probably a little bit less than middle of the road. Ymir, I'm still keeping an A. I don't give a shit about how many people are playing Ymir ever since he's been popularized. I don't think he's that great outside of like a couple of just a couple comps. He still gets caught the fuck out. He can counter a lot of, like you can ult, and that counts CC immunity, so you don't get like Ares ulted, for example, or whatever. But he just gets too caught out. I don't give a fuck. You have to play an extremely good Ymir to bring him up, in my opinion. But generally speaking, I think the normal person playing Ymir is not going to do great. Giving an A. Already talked about Nuwa. Now we're going down to the area where we're probably going to zip through because they're very similarly going to be bad or mid, or less than mid. Sorry. Already talked about Zhang. So let's talk about Sol, Kronos, and Freya all together. They're all in the exact same tier. AA mages just aren't really great compared to hunters. And then each individual kits just don't do well, in my opinion. Freya is super late game, so if you can get there, sure, but you just might as well have a hunter at that point. Kronos, nothing crazy about him either. You have to play a really good Kronos to make him work, and then Sol just falling from grace. Again, you can still make these gods work, so they're not like really bad, but like I don't think they're middle of the road. I think they're like less than that, so all three of them are still gonna be here. Oleron too, I forgot about this god too. You can make him work with his ult and everything. So if I were to say the best out of all four of these, I'd probably say Oleron is better in my opinion. If you have a specific team comp, because he's basically like he is like a hunter, and then late game he does so much with his ult. I think his ult presence has more of an impact than any of these three do, in my opinion. Surtur's gonna stay here. I don't think he's I think he's one of the few warriors. I don't think he's really great, but if you play him well, can have a lot of impact. He just ults away. He's not really good outside of like a couple of builds and teams, whoever's piloting him, for example. I don't think he's great. Same with Scotty, can get caught out. She does a lot of damage, but can get easily caught out, and there's so many other hunters that do what she does better. Chang'e is going to stay here as well. I don't think she's going to be good unless you're going up against a double backline team comp where you can blink ult and just one-shot them. I still think she's going to be in B. Because of that, the meta. Vamana's going to be in B as well. I'd rather play Bologna than Vamana, in my opinion. He can still do things, but he just gets cucked. He just doesn't do as much damage. You can't like do as many things as he used to. On Vamana, he got nerfed to the ground. Sort of. You still make him work. That's why he's not the worst, but you can still make him work. Akwang, not good unless you're like lower elo, in my opinion. He just gets shut down. Chernobog, no. His ult, no. Not very good. Unless you're playing Conquest, I don't think he's great. Again, any hunter, late game, you can make him work, but there are way many better hunters, early, mid, and late game than Chernobog. Fenrir, not good. Not good at all. Even against the counters, like Thoth, not good. Heimdall, super high skill ceiling, and even at that high skill ceiling, he's still fucking not great. Yanis, way better mages, and for the fact that most people don't know how to play Yanis well, using their portals incorrectly. Jingwei, not great unless you're playing Conquest. Merc, similarly, any type of build you play him, he's not going to be as that great. The only build I think is solid on him is the tank build, hybrid build, but there are other tanks that are better with him. It's kind of like a meme pick. Nemesis got buffed. I don't think it pushed her up anymore. She's got great ult potential to set up with her team, but her herself, I would just pick a fucking AA warrior in my opinion. She's super safe, but nothing crazy. Poseidon, an ult bot, very similar to Raw, only are really good with certain team comps, and I think that's where he falls. Similarly with Raw. Rat, not a great assassin either. Still can make him work. Again, B is a not great god pool, but you can still make them work. Tsukiyomi can make him work, but nothing crazy on the table with him. Hebo as well, super squishy, gets dove really easily. Loki, you can make him work, I guess, but still not very great. Bake is one of the worst guardians in the game. I wouldn't want to play him. He's not very good. I try to think about things why they're bad, but I feel like a lot of people should know why they're bad. But I'm trying to give like a very simple explanation besides droning on too much on why they're bad. But he just does no damage against tanks. Like his autos do absolutely fucking nothing, and so he's just like a fucking giant tank that does nothing. Hell, again, not a really great god outside of like the healing factor. Can make it work if you want to. Alpwash, not really great either. Gets caught out unless you play a good Alpwash. I've seen some Alpwashes recently do really well with the tank hybrid build, but generally speaking, not really great. Zeus sucks, can get dodged or get bombed so easily. If you miss any of your abilities on Zeus, you die. He does a lot of fucking damage, but so easily diveable. Susanoo is not very great. Daji is sort of like a niche counter. Same with a Wheelix. You know, you counter certain gods, a Wheelix with their ult when someone jumps, or if you have a good knockup on your team like Bacchus, you can a Wheelix ult and do some things with her. Daji is another one where you ult, you know, like Gabrakan, for example. I wouldn't necessarily say go Daji into a Gabrakan, but the idea applies. If they don't have great CC immunity, you can take advantage of that. Same thing with like Terra. Kleena, never going to be good. I'm actually going to bring her down to D. It's never good. Just does nothing. Izanami, not very good either. She's very easily catchable. Her ult does like a little bit, but like I don't think there's better hunters. Nox I don't think is great either, but I'll put her up to B. She can do things if you build her correctly, like tank with like Chronos Pendant, for example, to basically use her as a pseudo guardian. Any other playstyle, she sucks. Pele's C, she's an ult bot that does nothing. Fana is still very bad too. You know when he's gonna ult, so like he doesn't do much. You're not gonna do anything against tanks really. Morgan, super hard to play. Fallen from grace. Hades is just bad. Does no damage. Like, why are you even playing? So I'm gonna bring him down to D. Anubis is bad, stays in one spot. Apollo is bad, one of the worst hunters in the game, does nothing. Kefri does no damage, has mid setup. The only thing you're looking at is his ult. Yamoja does no damage. And she does like a somewhat okay damage. Her CC is super hard. She's a very hard to play god, which is why she's there. Mama Brigitte is like the worst god in the game in terms of Joust. She does like her worst. I think she's like the worst win rate out of any single fucking god. And then that's it. And then Morgan is not playable. There it is. There's your 11.11 tier list. Ooh, that took a little bit longer than I thought I was going to go over most of these gods, but let's look at, every time I do these, I look at the previous one and then compare and contrast between each two. So let's go ahead and do that right now. All right, here we are. So this is 11.10 and this is 11.11. So you'll see that a lot of it's the same. I'm not gonna lie. There's gonna be very similar, or there's gonna be very subtle changes between each patch, like I said before, but overall, when you look at the beginning of season 11, you compare it to the end of it, which we're basically there. We got like 2 patches left, maybe one, I don't remember. You know, not a lot of things change, but here we are regardless. So you'll see a lot of the changes up top. There's only one. This is in order too here in terms of banning. So, you know, not much change with Jing Shen. Cthulhu goes down 1 in my opinion. Cerberus goes up. And then, you know, Fafnir, I think, is top there. Kuzenbo actually goes down 1, in my opinion. I think Xing Chen's better than Kuzenbo. And then, you know, you look at S, a lot of things, you know, change. Like Honor, I don't really think Honor should have changed. I think I was a little too mean to Honor. I think Honor's S. I would have my personal bias over him, for example. A lot of these aren't any changes besides Sobek, Geb, Discordia, Rajan, Persephone, Cab, and Erlang. I think these gods are a lot better this patch from what I've been playing. And then you get down to like A, there's certain gods like A+, for example, like Ravana is a lot better than he once was. I think what is he at, like A? Where's Ravana? Am I dumb? Was Ravana already in A+? Oh, there he is. A. Right here. I think he's a way better A+. Almost S, depending on who's playing him. His buffs were crazy. Odin's down, Hunbats is down, Medusa's down, and I mean that's basically after that. There's some small changes in between A+ and A. Nothing crazy though, because they're not really meta. And then B and C, D, really nothing changes outside of someone being worse, going B to C, or you know, someone being horrible and going up a little bit to bad tier or whatever. So here it is. Here is the compare and contrast. You can screenshot whatever, but we'll go back to the regular tier list and then I'll close out the video. All right, there you go. There's 11.11. This is before the 11.11 bonus bounce, which I think should be coming. I don't actually know, but here it is if you want a screenshot for 11.11. We'll do 11.12, move on from there. We'll see what we have for store season 12, I guess. I don't know. Don't know what the future is for Smite 1 other than eventually dying, but I just don't know when or how it's going to. Hopefully Smite 2 will have Joust soon so that we can gradually move over there once they get more gods and shit, and then hopefully be directly into Smite 2 coming later next year. We'll have to see. So I can't really give you anything besides the fact that we're probably gonna do 2 more tier lists, depending on whether or not they give it to us, give new patches to where it would be relevant enough to do a tier list, whatever. Here it is. If you want to say something in the comment section, I know people do, which is I do like. Whether or not you disagree with me, or you agree with me, or you just flat out say I'm stupid. I've had several of those comments. I don't mind them. So give me your opinion in the comment section down below about what you think about my tier list, if you would like. You know, disagree, agree, maybe give me some points. I'm always open to some points or, you know, other people's opinions. Never shut that down. So if you'd like to do that, you can. If you do enjoy my videos, like, comment, and subscribe. It does help out a lot. Discord's in the description down below if you want to join our community. It's one of our best, or a very wholesome. No, it's pretty wholesome. We do some memes down there, talk, play other games, blah blah blah. If you'd like to go down there, join the Discord down below. Memberships are open for $1.99 a month, or no, I think it's $2.99 a month. I can't fucking remember. It's either $1.99 or $2.99 a month. If you do want to support me, one of the best ways to support me, but obviously you simply watching my video is good enough for me, so definitely not necessary. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section down below. But other than that, that is everything that I have for you. So with that being said, thank you guys for watching.